Hi everyone, my name is Adrian and welcome back. This past week I participated in the highly anticipated Brackeys Game Jam 2024, where I submitted my game, Little Summoner. Now for those of you who might not be familiar, the Brackeys Game Jam is an event hosted by Brackeys, a renowned content creator who served as a guiding light for many people venturing into the world of Unity. While Brackeys has stepped back from creating videos, he still continues to host the jam, and the theme for this year's jam was What's Behind the Door. Honestly, I didn't hate this theme. There was something endlessly intriguing about the mystery behind closed doors, and I knew it would spark some incredible ideas. And so with the theme set, it was time for me to roll up my sleeves and dive headfirst into development. I got nothing done. As much as I didn't hate the theme, I had no idea what I could do for it. And so I spent the entire first day thinking about what to do, and I ended up with nothing. And so it was an overall bad first day into the jam. I had classes during the day, so I couldn't really begin thinking of ideas until I got back. But when I did, I finally had an idea for the game. You see, I was always interested in making a WarioWare style game. All those wildly different mini games sounded like a great challenge, and I've always wanted to try it out. And to fit the theme, maybe there would be like a challenge behind each door that the player would have to complete. And so with an idea finally in place, I began working on the game. However, things didn't really go as planned. Halfway through making movement and actual gameplay, I realized that if this game was going to have a lot of minigames, it was going to need a lot, and I mean a lot of art. And I didn't really think I would have enough time during the week to make all the art for the game. Now I was back to square one with no game idea. I kept thinking about how I should add the theme, and I kept thinking about what the door should lead to. But then I realized something. Maybe I shouldn't have to know what's behind the door. Maybe nobody should know what's behind the door. Maybe it's your job to stop people from getting through. And so the first genre that came to mind was a wave defense system, in which you would have troops that you would organize to defeat an enemy. And so finally, with a real idea this time, I began working on the game. I kept the player movement from the last attempt just so it didn't go to waste, and I made the enemies and troops both function similarly, in which they'll walk up to the nearest instance of the opposing side and will continue to damage each other until they die. Then they'll just stand there. It's not really noticeable how much damage they take, so I put an HP bar above their heads. And that's all I got done for day 2. The first thing I did was set out to complete the main gameplay loop, as I feel that would be the most important part of the game. So I added waves to my game. There will be a moment before every wave for the player to buff up their troops, but after a bit, the next round will automatically start. Next up, which is leveling up troops and getting more troops. And this took me a while to get set up, but I made it so that once you hover over a troop, it will show you the information about them, such as how much health they have, their EXP amount that they need to level up, and I even gave them randomly generated names just because. And to level up your troops, you need to left click on them and they'll gain 1 XP in exchange for blood currency. And I also made it so that when a white square is empty, you have the option to left click on it to open up a shop, and that'll allow you to summon a new ally in exchange for currency. I even made 2 types of allies and enemies. One's a melee type, and the other's a ranger type. It's pretty self-explanatory what they do. Another thing I wanted to work on tonight was giving the player a bit more of a purpose, since they can't be harmed and all they're really good for is collecting blood. So I thought about letting them also fight with a sword, but then I decided to make them a support character, giving them the ability to buff their allies. And to do this, they would purchase throwable potions from the shop. But midway through developing this, I just decided to let the players always have access to these potions, since I figured there was already more than enough things that require currency. So I did make it so that each potion had a cooldown, that you had to wait to activate before throwing it again. The last 2 things I wanted to work on tonight was creating a main menu and a defeat state, just to make the game feel overall more replayable. And so I made the defeat state first, in which if all your troops are defeated and the enemy makes it to the door, you will lose and it'll show you your stats, such as all the enemies you defeated, all the troops you lost, and all the blood you spent. And that was it for day 3. It's day 4 and I still have no actual art implemented yet, so it's time to get that done. And so the first art I made were the slimes that would be your troops and the slimes that would be your enemies. I also spent time making the walls and floors of the room. I made the UI look prettier, and I made the player a hooded sorcerer. And yeah, most of today was spent balancing the game and adding sprites. I also got some friends to playtest the game, and here was their feedback. The most important change here that they suggested was getting everything done with the mouse cursor and not needing the player. So I did just that. They also suggested getting rid of all the other potions other than the healing one, and making it so that enemies can now drop potions. And so I did all that, and the rest of the day was spent improving the game based off feedback. Day 5 was also spent doing bug fixes, but I did add a few new things too. The first new thing I added were the 2 new ally types, the bomb type and the dragon type. And the second new thing I added were 2 game modes. Classic mode, where the goal is to get past 10 waves, and endless mode, where you just try to get as far as you can. And last thing I did was making it so that once you beat classic mode, you can go straight into endless mode. This is the last day of the jam for me, and I would have until 6 AM in the morning to finalize my game. And so I started off by making 2 new slime types, being the scout slime and the medic slime. I also made it so that you could sell your slimes for more currency and added a pause menu. And after that, it was just a whole bunch of playtesting from friends and other people, a bunch of enemy and troop balancing, and yeah, that's basically all I did up until 2 AM, where I finally submitted my game to the jam. Overall, I'm really proud of this game, and even though it had a rocky start, I think it turned out alright. I have already gotten some feedback from people who played the game, and the number one issue seems to be that doing everything with the mouse is a bit clunky, and that it's hard to click things such as the end turn button on the UI. This was the first time I've ever made a game solely played with the mouse, so I did expect it to be not that good, but my plan is to fix this after the judging period, and expand the game a bit more. I really like this idea, and in fact, my main goal is to add a bunch more features, and maybe publish this game on Cool Math Games or some other site. Of course, I'm not dropping my main project. I think I'm just going to work on both bit by bit at a time and see how that goes. But yeah, that's all for me. Check out the game if you want to, link will be in the description, and make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll talk to you all next time. Bye.